It's like walking a tightrope, isn't it?
Yeah.
The world of entrepreneurship, I mean. One minute you're up, and the next minute it feels like everything is crashing down around you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And, one entrepreneur who seems to be going through it right now is that car dealer, Khalif Kairo.
Right.
I mean, this guy's story is everywhere.
Yeah. It's really blown up.
So today we're going to take a deep dive into exactly what's going on.
I mean, you've gathered quite the collection of sources here. We've got those long YouTube interviews where Khalif Kairo is speaking directly about what's been happening.
Right.
And then we've got all these articles from The Standard, The Kenya Times, Kenyans.co.k, NTV Kenya.
Yeah, we're really trying to, get the whole picture here.
Really get into it.
So our mission for this deep dive, I guess, is to kind of sift through it all.
Right.
And give our listeners, like a clear understanding of this situation without getting lost in the weeds,
Yeah, exactly. Cut through the noise.
Just the core of what's happening.
Yes, signal from the noise. Yeah.
So where should we even begin with this?
Well, I think to really understand what's going on, now we kind of need to get a grip on Khalif Kairo's own story.
Yeah. Right.
How he sees all of this, the context he's coming from.
Okay, so in one of his interviews on the Every Other Time with Eric podcast, he talks about how, he had this like dreamy decade in business where it felt like everything just wins after wins.
Wow.
He was even, had this ambition to be a pilot, and just opportunities were coming to him.
So he's painting a picture of, real success early on.
Yeah.
Which makes what he calls this period of tribulation even more striking.
Yeah.
Like, that's a very loaded term.
But it's interesting that he frames it not just as a setback, but as a maturing period,
Yeah.
Like he's learning from all this.
Yeah, he's really trying to spin it in a positive light, isn't he?
Right. And it doesn't sound like these difficulties were small either. I mean, he talks about hitting rock bottom financially.
Oh, wow.
To the point where he couldn't even afford to eat.
Wow, that's serious.
Yeah, his mother even offered him a way back home.
I see.
So it really does seem like these business challenges really hit him hard personally.
Yeah, you can definitely hear that in his voice in the interviews.
Right.
What's interesting, though, is how he connects this to a bigger point about ambition,
Okay.
He's saying that people only see the successes, the big launches, the trips to Dubai.
Oh, right.
They don't see the hard work, the risks that come with being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, the behind the scenes.
Exactly. So he's kind of positioning himself as a victim of, the realities of entrepreneurship.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So that's how he kind of sets the stage for his story.
Right. And then he starts to bring in these other people who he says are part of the problem.
Okay, like who?
Well, this guy Clement keeps coming up.
Oh, man. Okay.
He says Clement opened a showroom back in like 2015, 2016.
Okay.
But it didn't last.
Uh-huh.
And there was even some talk of fraud around that time.
Oh, wow.
So it seems like there was already some bad blood there,
Right. And so Khalif Kairo is saying that Clement is part of what's happening now.
Well, yeah, I think he's trying to set up this idea that Clement has a history of shady dealings.
Oh, I see.
And that this isn't the first time he's been involved in something like this.
So kind of laying the groundwork for his defense,
Exactly.
Okay, so who else is involved in this whole thing?
Well, Kairo goes on to talk about his own early businesses. He mentions Drive Tech Solutions,
Okay.
which he started in 2016, shipping spare parts from China.
So showing his entrepreneurial spirit,
Yeah.
he's been at this for a while.
Yeah, hustling from the start.
Okay.
And then he gets into Urban Drive.
Urban Drive.
This seems to be where things with Clement really started to get complicated.
How so?
Well, they were importing cars together,
Okay.
but it was all very informal.
Uh-huh.
The vehicles were being shipped under Clement's name, not Kairo's.
So Kairo was saying that he was kind of at Clement's mercy in a way?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Okay.
He talks about helping Clement get his first BMW order,
Okay.
making good money from that.
But ultimately not having legal control over the cars.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole issue of flight school in 2019.
Okay, flight school.
Clement apparently claimed he was the one who paid for Kairo's lessons,
Oh, okay.
but Kairo denies that completely.
Oh, so this is another point of contention between them.
Yeah, it sounds like a big one.
What does Kairo say?
He insists that he could afford it himself,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
from his earnings with Urban Drive and some help from his mom.
Okay.
He even brings up specific details, like his NCBA Loop account and notes he had on his iPhone.
Really?
Yeah, like as if he's saying, look, I have proof.
Wow, so he's really trying to make it clear that he wasn't relying on Clement financially.
Yeah, it seems like a big deal to him.
Okay.
He also mentions that Clement lived in his house for like 3 months during their partnership.
Oh, so they were pretty close at one point.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which makes the falling out even more dramatic, I guess.
Right. And what happened next? Did things just completely explode between them?
Well, Kairo says that he tried to talk about some of their problems publicly,
Uh-huh.
and he ended up getting a demand letter from Clement's lawyer.
Oh, so it got legal pretty quickly.
Yeah, things escalated fast.
Wow.
And then it gets even more serious.
Okay.
Kairo starts talking about a hostile takeover.
A hostile takeover.
Yeah, he says that Clement and this other guy, Ibrahim, basically pushed him out of the business.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty serious accusation.
Yeah, it sounds like he felt completely betrayed.
Okay.
He says they formed a separate company behind his back and just cut him out.
So Kairo is claiming this was a deliberate attempt to sideline him.
Yeah, to steal his business, basically.
Oh.
And he even mentions Ibrahim freezing the import's BYO accounts in 2021
Okay.
because of alleged misappropriation of funds by Clement.
Wow. So there's a lot of finger pointing going on here.
Yeah, it's a real mess.
And what about Kairo himself? I mean, how did he react to all of this?
Well, he says he resigned from the company in 2022.
Okay.
Said he just couldn't take it anymore.
I see.
Wanted to start fresh.
So he walked away from it all.
Yeah. And he even talks about this new company he was planning with some investors
Okay.
called the UO Group or EO Group.
Okay.
But he claims Clement sabotaged it
How?
by, spreading negative rumors about him.
Oh, so he's saying that Clement was actively trying to ruin his reputation.
Yeah. And he gives this specific example from 2022.
Okay.
He says Clement exaggerated expenses for an event and then took all the credit.
Wow.
And he even shows a message from back then
Yeah.
where he's talking about leaving the company.
So it seems like this wasn't a sudden decision,
Yeah, it sounds like he was really unhappy for a while.
Right.
And the disagreements about money just kept going.
Okay, so even after he left the company.
Yeah, he's talking about messages from August 2022 where he's arguing with Clement about payments. And he mentions having to freeze company accounts because he had no control over the finances.
So this really does seem like a really messy situation.
Yeah, a total power struggle.
Okay.
And this is where we start to see how all of this is connected to his current troubles.
Okay.
Kairo says he's dropped the Kairo brand completely.
Okay.
He wants a totally fresh start.
Right. A clean slate.
Exactly.
But he believes the damage has been done,
Yeah.
He says the smear campaign ruined his reputation, made it impossible to get investments or even deliver cars to clients.
So he's saying this is why he's in trouble now.
Yeah, that this is all a result of Clement's actions.
Exactly.
Wow. And does he give any more details about what Clement allegedly did?
Yeah, he gets pretty specific. He claims Clement paid for negative articles about him.
Oh, wow. So he's saying that Clement was actively trying to get the media to turn against him?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he even says Clement sued him for 60 million Kenyan shillings.
60 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
Kairo believes that was just another way to sabotage him.
Okay, so he's painting a picture of a really aggressive and calculated attack.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he also throws in this accusation that Clement didn't sell cars he bought in Dubai,
Okay.
which contributed to imports by going under in 2023.
So he's essentially saying that Clement is a bad businessman on top of everything else.
Right.
Wow.
And then Kairo talks about opening a new location for Jetman in 2023.
Jetman, okay.
And he's adamant that it was his idea, not Clement's.
Right, so they're still fighting over credit for things?
Yeah, it seems like there's still a lot of animosity there.
Wow.
And Kairo describes Clement's strategy as basically isolating him by spreading rumors to all his contacts.
Wow, so he's saying that Clement was trying to destroy his personal and professional relationships.
Yeah.
That's intense.
It is. But it's interesting that even with all of this going on, Kairo admits he still has some loose ends.
Okay, like what?
He mentions still owing money for flight school and having around 15 clients waiting for cars.
Wow.
But he points out that most of them haven't taken legal action.
So he's kind of implying that they understand his situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he even brings up this old criminal case against Clement from like 2012, 2013.
Okay.
Something about a car and a lot of money.
Oh, wow. So he's really trying to paint Clement as a repeat offender.
Yeah.
Wow.
But ultimately, Kairo says he wants to settle with his clients and start fresh again.
Okay.
He calls all of this a pruning,
I'm pruning.
Yeah, like he's been cut back, but he's going to grow back stronger.
Wow, I see.
And this time he's thinking bigger.
Okay, how so?
He talks about building a global business, not just focused on cars.
Wow.
He mentions setting up a U.S. corporation.
Really?
Yeah, plans for international expansion.
Wow, so he's not giving up.
No, not at all.
That's pretty remarkable considering everything he's been through.
Yeah, he even says it's not just about his marketing skills. And
Okay.
he talks about grace and favor.
Oh, so there's a spiritual element to this for him.
Yeah.
I see.
And he mentions his mother and sister helping him financially, too.
Oh, wow. So he's had a lot of support.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he even goes so far as to say that his whole entrepreneurial journey is a higher calling.
A higher calling.
Yeah, a form of service.
Wow.
It's pretty powerful stuff.
So basically, he sees all of this as a test.
Yeah.
Something he has to overcome.
Right. And he wraps up by talking about the lessons he's learned.
Okay.
Formal agreements in writing.
Right.
And having good mentors.
So those are his big takeaways from all this.
Yeah. Seems like he's really trying to learn from his mistakes.
Okay, so that's a lot to take in.
It is.
That's Khalif Kairo's side of the story,
Yeah.
But when we look at the news, there's a whole other side to all of this.
Yeah.
There's a lot being said about arrests and fraud allegations.
Right.
So let's get into that now. What are the headlines saying?
Well, all the news outlets, NTD Kenya, The Standard, the Kenya Times, are all reporting the same thing.
Oh.
Khalif Kairo was rearrested on Tuesday, March 25th, 2025,
Okay.
at the Milimani Law Courts.
So this was just recently?
Yeah, just this week.
Wow.
And the timing is pretty interesting.
Okay.
It happened right after a court mention for 3 other cases he's involved in.
Oh, so he's already facing legal trouble.
Yeah.
And what are those cases about?
Fraud.
Fraud.
Clients accusing him of defrauding them in car deals.
Oh, wow.
But this latest arrest is a whole new thing.
Really?
Fresh allegations.
Wow. So what are they saying he did this time?
Well, it seems like the same pattern as before.
Okay.
Taking money for cars and not delivering them.
Oh, wow. So more the same.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some reports say it was a BMW, others a Volkswagen Tiguan, and there's even mention of a Honda Vezel Hybrid and a Subaru Outback.
Oh, wow. So multiple cars,
Yeah.
multiple clients.
Yeah.
And what happened at the courthouse?
Well, Kenyans, .co.k, describes him being handcuffed right there on the premises.
Really?
Yeah, and then taken away in a vehicle.
Wow.
And they're saying he's expected to be arraigned in court tomorrow, Wednesday, March 26th.
Okay.
And this is actually his 3rd arrest for similar allegations.
His 3rd.
Yeah.
Wow.
Back in January, he was arrested a couple of times after court mentions, too.
Oh, wow. So this has been going on for a while.
Yeah, seems like a recurring problem.
And what about the details of the previous cases?
Well, the Kenya Times goes into some specifics.
Okay.
They mention one case where he allegedly received 2.1 million Kenyan shillings in July 2024 for a Honda Vezel Hybrid
Okay.
that he never delivered.
Wow.
And another one where he supposedly convinced a client to transfer 2.98 million Kenyan shillings between July and November 2024 for a Subaru Outback.
Wow. These are huge sums of money.
Yeah.
And that car wasn't delivered either.
Nope.
Wow.
So yeah, those are the accusations he's facing.
And how does Kairo respond to all of this? I mean, does he address these arrests at all?
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
He claims it's all political.
Political.
Yeah, he calls it a witch hunt.
Wow.
Says it always happens whenever he tries to get his business back on track.
Oh, so he's basically saying that someone is out to get him.
Yeah, that's his story.
Wow.
Yeah.
And does he give any more details about who might be behind this supposed witch hunt?
He doesn't name names,
Okay.
but he does mention that all the legal trouble and the negative media have forced him to close his offices.
Oh, wow. So it's really impacting his business.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
But despite all of that, he's maintaining his innocence.
Really?
Yeah, he keeps saying that he's never had any legal issues with cars before
Okay.
and that he has thousands of satisfied customers.
So he's trying to point to his past track record?
Yeah,
Okay.
and he's not exactly keeping quiet about it either.
Okay.
The Standard reports that after his latest arrest, he posted on X.
X, you mean Twitter?
Yeah, they changed the name recently. Right?
Right.
Anyway, he's posting about how he's going to overcome all of this.
Okay.
He uses this metaphor, calm seas never make good sailors.
Wow.
So he's basically saying that these challenges are making him stronger.
Right, right.
And he talks about rebuilding bigger and better.
Okay.
Even warns his rivals that trying to bring him down won't help them.
Wow. So he's still very defiant.
Yeah, he's not backing down at all.
It's actually kind of remarkable,
Yeah.
considering how much he's up against.
Yeah, he's putting on a brave face, that's for sure.
And then there's this other thing that he did.
Oh.
He actually asked for forgiveness.
Really?
Yeah, he put out this message saying he's sorry to anyone he's wronged.
Wow. That's unexpected.
Yeah, it's kind of a softer side to him than we've seen before.
Right.
Maybe he's trying to, improve his public image a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so we've got these two completely different narratives here.
Yeah.
Kairo's story of betrayal and sabotage, and then the news reports about these serious fraud allegations.
It's hard to know what to make of it all, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
But there's actually another piece to this puzzle that we haven't even touched on yet.
Oh, okay, what's that?
Another YouTube interview.
Okay.
This time on the Chidsey podcast.
Okay.
And it gives us even more insight into Kairo's mindset.
Okay, so what does he talk about in this one?
Well, he spent a lot of time talking about haters.
Haters, okay.
And he makes this distinction between people who are upfront about debts and people who are secretly plotting against him.
Okay.
He talks about the sacrifices people make to pay him.
Okay.
And how much it hurts to be betrayed.
So he's kind of echoing what he said in those other interviews about feeling betrayed by people he trusted?
Exactly.
Okay.
And he uses these really interesting analogies.
Like what?
Land deals.
Okay.
Even historical figures like Ruto and Kenyatta.
Oh.
Like he's trying to put his situation into this bigger context, you know?
Right, like he's not the first person to face these kinds of challenges.
Exactly.
Okay.
He also mentions trying to organize a political rally.
A political rally?
Yeah.
Wow.
And some online mobilization efforts.
So it seems like he was trying to branch out,
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
And he gets pretty reflective about his past.
Okay.
Talks about driving at a young age.
Okay.
Compares it to his struggles now.
So he's kind of reminiscing about easier times.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he starts talking about powerful people.
Okay.
He uses this term, bazinga.
Bazinga. Okay.
And he even suggests that there might be conspiracies against him.
Wow. So he's really doubling down on this idea that he's a victim.
Yeah.
Wow. And does he talk about the arrest in this interview?
He mentions it briefly.
Okay.
Talks about the support he received.
Okay.
But he doesn't go into details.
Okay.
But he does talk about his finances.
Okay.
And he's very clear that he's struggling.
Okay.
He blames it all on the damage to his reputation.
Right.
Which goes back to his claims about the smear campaign.
Yeah, so he's connecting all the dots,
Exactly.
Wow. And the title of this podcast segment is pretty telling, too.
Oh, yeah. God will punish my haters.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah, it really shows you where his head's at right now.
So he's still very angry.
Yeah.
And he feels like he's been wronged.
Yeah.
Wow. So where does this all leave us? I mean, we've heard from Kairo himself.
Yeah.
We've seen what the news is saying.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
I mean, the bottom line is Khalif Kairo has been arrested again.
Right.
For fraud.
And it's not the first time.
No.
He claims it's all part of a bigger plot against him.
Right.
But the allegations are pretty serious.
They are.
So it's really hard to know what to believe.
It is. We're left with these two very different versions of events.
Right.
On the one hand, you've got Kairo saying he's the victim, that he's being targeted.
Right.
And on the other hand, you've got these very specific accusations of fraud.
And a lot of money involved.
Yeah.
Millions of shillings.
Wow. So what happens now? I mean, what are the big questions that still need to be answered?
Well, the legal cases are still ongoing.
Right.
So we don't know what the final outcome will be.
Okay.
Will he be found guilty?
Right.
Will he be cleared of all charges?
Right.
And there are still a lot of unanswered questions about the alleged fraud.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
what exactly happened with those car deals?
Yeah.
Who were the clients?
Right.
What proof is there?
Exactly.
And then there's Kairo's future.
Yeah.
He says he wants to rebuild,
Right.
go global.
Rebrand.
But can he really do that with all of this hanging over him?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
This whole situation really shows you how complicated things can get.
It does.
Entrepreneurship, public image, legal battles.
It's all intertwined.
It is.
And it's a good reminder that the stories we see in the headlines,
Right.
they often have so much more going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So much complexity. Layers and layers.
And it makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
About second chances in the business world.
Right.
About how quickly public perception can change.
Yeah.
And about how important trust is.
Especially in business.
Yeah. I mean, Kairo built his whole career on trust.
Right.
People trusted him to deliver those cars.
Right.
And now that trust is broken.
Yeah.
So can he really rebuild from that?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is. And it's a question that goes beyond just Khalif Kairo, you know?
Yeah.
It makes you think about the risks we all take when we trust someone with our money.
Right.
Our dreams.
It's a good reminder to be careful who you trust.
It is. And to do your research.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the people we think we know aren't who they seem to be.
Exactly.
So that's something for all of us to think about.
Yeah. Food for thought for sure.
Thanks for joining